Here we're going to tie Tox Baetis emerger. This was a fly developed by Rick Takahashi. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a few fibers of brown Antron. We're going to tie these in right up here near the front of the hook. I'm going to leave a few of those fibers hanging off the front on purpose. Leave them nice and long. And we're going to take our thread back all the way to the bend. Then we can trim our tail. We want our tail to be about half of the length of the shank of the hook. Now we're ready to tie in the body material. I'm just going to tie in some olive micro tubing. You can also tie this in other colors. You can use olive brown or yellow. And I'm going to take my thread forward and I'm going to stop about a third of the way from the eye of the hook. Now I'm just going to take that tubing and just wrap a nice even smooth body. I can capture it. Now the next thing to do is to tie in our wing. For that I'm going to use a little bit of white McFlylon. I'm going to tie this in just right on top of the shank as well. I'm going to trim out all that excess. Now what I'm going to do is just dub a little bit of a thorax. Use a little bit of olive superfine dubbing. Careful not to overdo it. I just add a little bit to my thread and then just slowly build it up. There we go. I'm going to take my thread. I'm going to leave a little bit of room by the eye of the fly. And all I'm going to do is just take this McFlylon. I'm going to make a little bit of a loop with it. Capture it. Make my loop a little smaller here. Just going to do that by pulling on it. Let's try that again here. There we go. I'm going to just kind of roughly separate it from that brown Antron. Get in here as close as I can with my scissors. Just trim all that out of there. So I have a little bit of a loop there. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take a CDC oiler puff and I'm just going to strip the puff into two portions. I can kind of lick my fingers here just to hold it all together for now. I'm going to tie in a chunk of the puff on one side of the shank of the hook. I want these fibers to be about the same size as the loop wing that we made. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Like I said, you can just kind of lick those puffs and that'll help keep them together just long enough so you can tie them in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this Antron We're just going to split it into two portions. Pull one portion to one side and the other portion to the other side. Capture both of them. And we'll just kind of roughly clean everything up near the eye here. And this fly does usually have a little bit of a larger head than some of the other flies do, just because there's so much going on. Don't want it to be too big, but it will be a little bulkier than most flies. And we can go ahead and whip finish. And we'll pull this Antron, and I trim this just a little bit longer than our CDC here. So just pull all the fibers up, trim it just a little bit longer. If you get a few stray fibers, you can just trim them right out of there. And that's one of my favorite little blue winged olive emergers. It's a fly that's not often talked about, not often fished, but it's kind of one of my little secret flies. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of a marker, and you can always just color up the top of your head here just a little bit. Give it kind of a Mayfly Baetis-y look. And you can get all the materials for this fly at intheriffle.com.